Tonight, you're going to eat dinner facing a screen. You'll prop the phone against a glass or a book or whatever's closest. You'll press play on something you've probably already seen, and you'll eat like that, alone, facing light instead of a face. You'll do it without a second thought. It's just Tuesday. For almost the entire history of our species, that single habit would have looked less like a lifestyle choice and more like a small emergency. The rule was simple, and it held for tens of thousands of years. You did not eat alone. Not because food was hard to get, though it usually was. You didn't eat alone because eating was never really about food. It was the original meeting, the original news broadcast, the original way a group of primates checked every single night that they were still a group. Around a fire, over a shared carcass, inside a shelter barely big enough to hold everyone at once. And the strange part is how consistent this was. Across deserts, forests, ice sheets, coastlines, societies with no contact with each other kept arriving at the same rule, independently, over and over. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiessner published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She'd spent decades recording actual conversations among the Zhu Hoansi, a hunter-gatherer people in the Kalahari, writing down, word for word, what people talked about and when. By day, the talk was practical. Complaints, logistics, who owed who meat. But at night, at the fire during the meal, the subject changed almost completely. Storytelling took over. Myths, gossip about a fight in a camp 2 days walk away. Stories about a lion or an elephant told so many times the ending was known by heart and told anyway. So why did the subject change the moment the sun went down? Wiesner's answer, firelight stretches the day past the point where anything useful can still get done. No more foraging, no more building. All that's left is talk that exists for its own sake, the kind that binds a group together instead of just running it. The meal wasn't fuel. It was the only appointment in the day built for that other kind of talk, the kind that isn't about getting through the day, but about deciding, together, who you all still are. It gets stranger than that. In 1969, anthropologist Richard Lee, working in that same region, decided to thank the community that had hosted him for a year. He bought the fattest ox he could find and gave it to them as a gift for a feast. They were not impressed. Word went around camp calling the animal a bag of bones, not worth the trouble of butchering. One hunter told him it looked like something that had already died of hunger, on its own, out of pity. Lee later found out this happens to every good hunter, every time, on purpose. The Kung called it insulting the meat. If a man is allowed to believe his kill makes him important, he starts acting like a chief, and everyone else starts acting like his servants. So the group insults the meat on purpose every time, no matter how good the hunter or how large the animal. Every big meal comes preloaded with a reminder. Nobody eats above anybody else. Here's the part that's easy to get wrong. It's tempting to hear all that and think, how generous, how communal, how kind. That's not quite it. Sharing food wasn't an act of warmth. It was policed. Anthropologist James Woodburn, describing these kinds of societies in 1982, called them some of the most rigidly egalitarian groups ever documented on Earth. And the reason wasn't affection. It was fear of the alternative. Someone caught quietly hoarding, someone eating alone, someone feeding only their own family, behind a windbreak, out of sight. Any of it could get you accused of something close to witchcraft. Selfishness so severe it threatened everyone's survival. And this wasn't one isolated case. From the Kalahari to the Hadza of Tanzania to hunter-gatherer groups across Australia, the harshest penalties were reserved not for violence, not for theft, but for stinginess at mealtime. Eating together wasn't love. It was surveillance the whole species agreed to submit to. Because the actual alternative was worse. Really eating alone. Really being cut off from the group's food and talk and protection. That could get you killed. Which is why some very old part of you still runs that program right now, tonight, with a full refrigerator 10 feet away and zero chance of starving. The instinct not to eat facing nothing is still in there, so you improvise. The cereal eaten standing at the counter, the lunch break spent scrolling instead of talking. You prop up the phone. You put on a show you've already seen twice, and not for the plot, just for the voices. In 2013, a review published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, led by researcher Eric Robinson, looked at what happens when people eat in front of a screen. They remembered less of the meal afterward. They felt less full. They ate more later in the day without meaning to. You're not lonely, exactly. You're running an ancient piece of software that still expects a face across the table. And when there isn't one, it settles for a screen propped up at eye level, playing a face back at you. None of this is an argument for going back. Nobody's suggesting you gather 12 relatives around a fire every night to avoid a witchcraft accusation. We got food security, we got refrigeration, we got antibiotics, and traffic lights, and the plain modern luxury of not needing anyone's permission to eat. We got the right to eat in silence alone without a hunter mocking the size of our portion, without a whole camp keeping score of who ate what and when. Privacy at the table is not nothing, but it's worth noticing what quietly got dropped along the way. For most of human history, a meal was the one guaranteed moment your entire group looked at each other and confirmed something simple. Still here, still us. Somewhere between then and now, the meal stopped being proof that you belong to anyone. Now you can go days without anyone watching you eat. Tonight, the phone will already be there when you sit down, propped up, waiting. You could put it down, or you could press play, like always, and let something that isn't a person keep you company at a table it was never really counted at.